That's friends of ADOS TV at gmail.com. Good evening on the West Coast. Good evening in the Central. Good evening in the Mountain. Good evening on the East Coast. You know exactly who it is, family. Angela Nirvana, your hostess with the mostest on the Reparationists Perspective, bringing you those ADOCS, hot topics, and making the case for reparations, making the case for weaponizing our vote and socializing our suffering, family. And this is my Ida B. Wells 2.0 series, wherein I give you an overview of what's happening with the Chauvin trial, the George Floyd case. It's a lot, family. As you already know, the stakes are exceptionally high. And it's imperative that we have a way to come together and talk about what's going on and pray about what's going on. I want to welcome each and every one of you to the live. Thank you so much for being here. And so, yeah, I created this new series to focus on the anti-Black racism that has been plaguing our people with the proverbial boot on the neck for over 400 years that Biden just wants to skip right over and give protections to Asians, of which 68% of their assaults are verbal. And so I'm not knocking the Asians. I don't like the fact that they're being pushed around and they're being executed by the white inferior race soldiers, just like us. Because when you don't fix the main core issue and stain on this country, then what is happening to us is bound to come for you next. So I don't wish it on anyone. I'm telling you that the priorities are mixed up. You need, in order to dismantle white supremacy, it starts with anti-Black racism. We don't skip over 400 plus years and go and give Asia protections over things that are happening to them a little bit more since COVID and not give a damn about the very people whose ancestors' blood and bones you eat from, whites and immigrants. So, I've got a couple of new series. This is one, and I'm also doing a series called Dear Immigrants, because of ADOCS, why you should ally with us in our fight for social and economic justice. So I'm teaching that. I'm always making the case over here for the reparations in the trillions over multi-generations. You've got mayors saying that we're owed about 151 million, while we've got people like Sheila Jackson Lee, just Senator Jamaica, sitting up here talking about a cashless reparations. I've shared with you how the median income for Asians in this country is $87,000 nationwide. The median income for white folks is $65,000 nationwide. The median income for American descendants of chattel slavery, whose ancestors built all the wealth that we were killed for and was stolen from us, is $41,000. Now, how can we be American when we can't even afford to buy a home with $41,000 as a median income? I'm not talking about those of us who are privileged to be in the top 10%. That's not what this is about. None of us are free until all of us are free. We are at George Floyd, 9 minutes and 29 seconds, with the cameras rolling. The unmitigated gall of white privilege, it has gone absolutely too far. But dollars bring dignity, and being poor makes you George Floyd. Literally and figuratively, okay? And so I know lots of y'all say, you're so loud, stop screaming. Listen, I am hotter than fish grease. I told one of my comrades, what has being nice about the topic garnered us? We are at George Floyd 929 all over the world because we don't have the complexion for the protection. Clubhouse, I see you guys. If you want to see me live, I'm on YouTube. I would love for you to join me over here and chat with us. I came on to Clubhouse because I hear that I'm being discussed over there. People are wondering, well, who is ADOCS? Who is this person with the Reparationists Perspective? Is she starting a whole new movement? No, I'm continuing the movement I started. Lots of you are new to Yvette and Antonio Moore. I'm not. We started chapters after being inspired by her hashtag ADOS. She was doing great political commentary and told us not to start the movement. I'm not going to live here, but I hear that I've been asked about over at Clubhouse because some people are getting the notices and are wondering who I am. Well, I am Angela Nirvana. I am a reparationist. I helped to start the ADOS movement. I was a co-founder of the ADOS SoCal chapter. We have managed to get AB 3121 passed for reparations for California, as have many of my comrades who have now left ADOS because Yvette decided she wanted to form an HQ and want all of us to roll our stuff into her. And we can't do that when you're out here throwing chairs and encouraging other people to throw chairs. That is not what we're here for. That is not what we founded the movement for. We founded the movement to deliver our people, and we are still on our square. When we were threatened with suits for continuing into the ADOS hashtag, I decided for me and what I'm doing as Equity Advocates PAC to get our full-chested candidates, full-chested reparationist candidates elected at every level of government, to just do my own thing as I've always done and stick a C in there to put up a more secure gate. The C is for chattel, so that I can move unimpeded, be able to partner and ally with immigrants and other grassroots alike, which you cannot do if you want to be a part of HQ. So I defected, as many of the founders of local chapters, local grassroots chapters throughout the country have defected. So now you know. You can find me over here at YouTube and Facebook and Twitter. But I've been doing this, oh my God, since 2019, when we started the movement. We, the grassroots, the people, started the movement. Yvette didn't want this. We wanted it. We could not just continue to sit up on her show trauma bonding and not get moving. We could not do it, and we refused to do it, so we formed chapters. We finance our chapters. None of what Yvette does on YouTube trickles down to the grassroots. That was all of our money, our time, our resources. And we continue. It's not gone anywhere. It's just morphed into these new identities so that we could get the boulder off our wings and soar for the people and get these reparations. So we've been quite successful. The revolution is being social mediaized. Right now, the Catholics are talking about $100 million as a down payment for reparations. Evanston, Illinois has granted $10 million. These things don't go far enough, but hey, they're a start. HR 40 is now out of the shadows and dusted off. We're working on ethnicity bills. We're working to become out here our own identity to unflatten Blackness, called Black American Descendants of Choctaw Slavery. You must put the chattel in there because I've sat on panels where white folks think indentured servitude is an American descendant of slavery. So I use chattel because they can never claim to be treated less than animals. As you bear witness to George Floyd, as the defense continues to try to make it about his drug use and his underlying health issues, which he was living with, before they came up to his car and stuck a gun in his face over a would-be fake $20 bill. Which, oh, by the way, if he was trying to get that off, why was he still parked outside the Cup Foods? If you were doing something and trying to rob Cup Foods with a fake 20, why would you continue to sit in front of the Cup Foods? And I mean, moving around very jovial. I didn't see any signs of him, about to die from cardiac arrest under the influence of drugs or COVID, heart hypertension. In the store, I saw him just being his amazing, extraordinary self. So I decided, since I don't have 7 hours a day to watch this, that I was just going to take highlights and speak about the key testimony, and of course, do as I always do, tell you the way I see it. So welcome one and all. I've got a back-to-back segment because I had to go to the dentist yesterday. And, once they numb you, I didn't want to be saliva everywhere, trying to talk to you guys. If you're in Clubhouse, please join us live over in YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. Like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. Let me fly my banner because it's not free to do this and to bring you this. Aggregated dollars are helpful, but, if that's not you at this time, welcome one and all. It doesn't matter to me. Oh, Lord, how do I get the thing to run and not? Okay, I don't see how to make it run. I just wanted a little byline under there. But if you're interested, you can cash at me at $FOADOS TV. FOADOS TV. I'll flash the banner later. I like it when it runs underneath. I've done something and cannot get it to run. But anywho, let's get into the show because I'm doing day 3 now. I'm closing this down because I know how tiring it can be. And I'm going to start a brand new one within the hour. So let's get right into the highlights. And sometimes when time permits, I'll be doing some extras too. Okay, so I want you guys to know while I'm searching for my article, I want you to know that Chauvin's defense is being funded by the police union. So we just get to keep paying for our own government-sanctioned executions, you see. We pay them with our tax dollars when they're employed. We pay the civil suits. We pay for their legal defense. This is why there's such a huge cry to defund the police and make our policing more communal. So let me jump right in and get this going so we can move over to the next day 4. Day 5 will come on Sunday, along with my Dear Immigrant because of ADOCS series. I put that off because I got a day behind and I'm trying to play catch up. So Monday I can be on, day 6, boom, here, rolling it out to you. And like I said, these are the clip notes. So you guys don't have to be concerned with watching this for 7 hours. It's a lot to take in. And it's a lot because they keep playing that video over and over again. It's very traumatizing, but necessary. I love prosecution and what they're doing. A stand-up job right now. Those eyewitnesses are fearless. They are fearless. Do you hear me? They are our Harriet Tubmans, you understand, our abolitionists. They are bravely getting up there telling the way they saw it. And they're still living in Minnesota. That's brave. Anywho, prosecutors and this is day 3, and then I'll shut it down. We'll go to day 4. Prosecutors in Derek Chauvin's murder trial introduced video from officer-worn body cameras into evidence Wednesday afternoon, giving jurors a first look at the perspectives of the 4 officers on the scene. The other former officers, Thomas Lane, Jay Kawang, and Tu Tao, are charged with aiding and abetting second-degree murder and manslaughter, and I hope they rot in jail. They're expected to go on trial in August. Earlier on Wednesday, witness testimony and surveillance video shown in court provided the first glimpse of George Floyd's action inside Cup Foods before his death. The surveillance footage from inside the store shows Floyd casually walking into Cup Foods and talking with customers and employees. The footage is the first piece of evidence in the trial taken from inside the convenience store before police were called on May 25th after an employee alleged that Floyd had tried to pass a counterfeit $20 bill. Me speaking. Where is the 20? It is yet to be introduced. I'm very curious about this fake $20 bill that George Floyd allegedly used and sat outside of Cup Foods and had a gun shoved to his face before a knee to the neck for $9.29 to take his life out of him while he urinated himself. All his organs were shutting down in that moment and cried out for his mother. Where is the $20 bill? Let me back up. I know if I am too loud, understand this about me. I am very passionate about ADOCS. So I can't control my volume because when I jump to my YouTubes, the levels are off and I can't hear it over here. This is ADOCS Life. I'm doing the best I can with what I get in the form of donations and out of my own pocket, okay? So with that being said, don't ask me to tone it down. That's not my brand. Those that have been rolling with me forever know that I'm not screaming at you. I'm just very animated and I'm hotter than fish grease behind many things that tie my people to the bottom as an anchor. And like I shared with the prior comrade, what has being nice gotten us but George Floyd 929? So adjust your volumes. You guys do that part. You be the sound engineer until I can afford one. Okay, back to the text. The previous 2 days of witness testimony have featured several bystander videos taken outside the store after police had arrived on the scene. So, first segment, jurors get put into the shoes of responding Minneapolis police officers. Police body camera footage put jurors into the shoes of officers, giving them the best look possible in judging their potentially criminal actions, a legal analyst said. Quote, body camera footage has gotten so detailed and the audio is so crisp. It really puts you into the shoes of the officer, and the jury can assess in looking at that whether or not what they were doing was reasonable, NBC legal analyst Danny Savalas said. While the footage played for jurors on Wednesday will probably work against former officer and now murder suspect Derek Chauvin, the videos do offer some room for the defense, Savalas said. Footage clearly showed George Floyd refusing to sit in the back of a police vehicle, leading to officers putting him on the pavement. All potentially reasonable acts by the defendants. Me speaking. Have you ever been in the back of a police car? I have. I am 5'10". What George Floyd was saying is absolutely true. He was claustrophobic. He had just come through COVID. He begged not to be arrested. Those squad cars, the back of those squad cars are so tiny that someone that suffers from claustrophobia definitely would have a hard time being in the back of a squad car. So to George Floyd, who can't speak for himself on none of this, I'm speaking for him as someone who has sat in the back of a police cruiser. Okay? I'm not going to get into why. That's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. Okay? This is about George Floyd. Just know that when he complained about being in the back of a police cruiser, He was absolutely right. It's like they torture you before they even take you to the police station. You're being tortured, okay? Literally. And he's 6'3". Back to the text. The defense is going to make the argument that there was resistance, Savallo said. What you do see is a kind of passive resistance. Me speaking, he was handcuffed. Moving on. But is a jury going to conclude that it warrants putting your neck on the back, your knee on the back of someone's neck for 9 minutes and 29 seconds, even after they've completely stopped moving? That's where the defense has a problem. Day 3 of witness testimony ends Wednesday after body-worn camera footage from officers shown in court. The third day of witness testimony in the Derek Chauvin trial ended Wednesday after jurors watched extensive footage from the body-worn cameras of the officers involved in the arrest of George Floyd. The footage showed the moments leading up to officers approaching George Floyd's car until he was taken away in an ambulance, dead on arrival. That is what the paramedics testified to. And the lieutenant said it was excessive force to have his knee on that man's neck. He also admitted that that ain't no part of the training. Derek Chauvin meant to kill him. As we all bore witness to, the more animated the crowd got, his knee dug in harder. He was getting his rocks off of taking George Floyd's life. And as I share with you on the day 2 update, there was a mutual comrade in security that shared that Chauvin and Floyd knew each other. And Floyd always ran from Chauvin when they were on security detail in specific clubs. He would run from Chauvin because of how abusive and aggressive Chauvin was. The body-worn camera footage was shown during the testimony of Lieutenant Jeff Rugel, a Minneapolis police officer who manages the police business technology unit. Rugel's testimony was focused on technical aspects of camera footage, including how body cameras are worn and operated. He was not asked to comment on the contents of the videos. His testimony followed that of a teenager who worked at Cup Foods and witnessed Floyd's restraint and other bystanders. Witness testimony continued Thursday around 9:30. We know that part. Let's jumping down. Body-worn camera shows officer interaction after George Floyd restrained on the ground. Police body-worn camera footage played in court in the Derek Chauvin trial Wednesday afternoon showed officers put George Floyd on the ground and restrain him until medical responders arrived and put him onto a stretcher. "I can't breathe. I can't breathe," Floyd begins to say repeatedly after officers removed him from a police vehicle and placed him on the ground to restrain him. Floyd had resisted getting in the police car, saying he was claustrophobic and recently had the coronavirus. Me speaking, if he was in the vehicle, why did you take him out? To murder him. Back to the text. The officers hold Floyd down on the ground as he is handcuffed and tell him to stop moving while he begins to call out for his mother and cry out. As Floyd says he can't breathe, the officers tell him to relax. So, knees in my back, in my chest, on my neck, and I'm to relax. Interesting. He's got to be on something, one of the officers said. And they discussed what drugs Floyd might possibly be on. This reminds me of medical apartheid against our people, right? That they think that we can endure a knee to the neck. We're invincible. He's got to be on something. Look at how much pressure we're putting on him. And he's not dead yet. He's got to be on something. He's super Negro. He's super ADOCS. They'll kill me, Floyd says, while repeating he can't breathe. At one point, an officer asked if they should roll Floyd onto one side and says he is worried about delirium or whatever. I think he's passed out, an officer says soon after. Members of a crowd that had gathered can be heard yelling at the officers and asking them to check his pulse, saying Floyd was unresponsive. The officers, including Chauvin with the knee on Floyd's neck, continue to hold him down. Medical responders then arrive onto the scene and eventually pick up Floyd's body and place it onto a stretcher and place him in an ambulance. The paramedic knew he was dead, and that's exactly how they treated him. They threw him on that gurney, still in his handcuffs, as if they were picking up the trash. As a matter of fact, and I don't need y'all going to look at it, that's what this is for. I'm here to give you just the Cliff Note version within the hour, so that you don't have to traumatize yourselves and sit through all this 7-hour every day kind of thing. We got jobs, we got kids, right? But what mortified me was when the paramedic came over, Chauvin kept the knee on the neck. He had to be invited by the paramed to take his knee up so he could lift up George Floyd and put him on the gurney. That's white inferior privilege on full display. While Biden protects Asians, right? And it's not like this has stopped. When I'm done covering this trial, I'm going to keep the Ida B. Wells Series 2.0, anti-Black racism, to continue to show you how this has not stopped and the Biden administration is doing nothing about it presently, but protecting. They'll do something about it. They'll weaponize what happened to George Floyd to give Asians and other groups protection. I already shared with you why they're protecting Asians. Median income, $87,000 to white folks, $65,000 to ADOCS, $41,000. Dollars bring dignity, and being poor makes us George Floyd 929. Back to the text. Medical responders then arrive onto the scene and eventually pick up Floyd's body and place it onto a stretcher and place him in the ambulance. The video shown in court Wednesday from cameras worn by officers Thomas Lane and Alexander Cowain were previously unsealed this summer, showing the encounter between Floyd and police. Next segment. Jurors shown the body camera footage from Two Tao. Lord have mercy if I could just jump through the TV and just, to Jesus, fix it, Black Jesus. Jurors watched body camera footage from former Officer Two Tao, showing how police appeared to ignore pleas of concerned bystanders in the moments before George Floyd's death. Tao was responsible for keeping bystanders away from the police as murder suspect Derek Chauvin put his knee into Floyd's neck on May 25 outside Cup Foods. Oh yeah, he threatened him with mace. Let me keep reading. The footage from Tao dramatically captured off-duty firefighter Genevieve Hansen. Was she an abolitionist or what? She was getting them all the way together in her testimony. Even the judge, I'm trying to finish what I had to say. She wasn't here for defense. Oh no. You will not make this about us being angry, which is what defense is trying to suggest. That the angry bystanders incited Chauvin to drive his knee deeper into Floyd's neck until he expired. Back to the text. Off-duty firefighter Genevieve Hansen and mixed martial arts fighter Donald Williams was the business. You will not paint me as an angry Black man for being mad as hell. hotter than fish grease, that you are literally taking this brother's life right in front of me. I see you with the blood choke, boy. As they begged officers to help Floyd, who appeared to be losing consciousness while pinned under Chauvin's knee. Family, I'll say it again. The police union is funding Chauvin's defense. I want you to brace yourselves for the worst and be pleasantly surprised if this Mickey Thicky gets 40 years in general pop without the possibility of parole. Y'all need to start appealing your Christ, your inner Buddha, your inner Muslim. That God in you needs to speak to the God in them jurors that it is unanimous in that vote to hang Chauvin. That's an N1 on one ass one. We can't appeal to them in the outer, in our humanity. But with that Christ that sits, that animates your body, that is who you are before you were flesh, y'all need to get to talking to them 6 white jurors and those 6 combination ADOCS, Hispanic, and Black immigrants. That's the only way this gets done. Prosecutors, I'm sorry, guys, I lose my place when I get so animated. Prosecutors showed jurors body camera footage from former officer J. Alexander Kawang, a co-defendant of murder suspect Derek Chauvin. Kawang, who is charged with aiding and abetting murder, is one of the first 2 Minneapolis police officers to arrive at Cup Foods on May 25th to confront George Floyd over an alleged fake $20 bill. The officer's body camera footage showed he and his colleagues pinning Floyd to the pavement as Chauvin put his knee into Mr. Floyd's neck. Kawang, who is being tried separately, is the closet officer, the closest officer to Chauvin, and can hear Floyd telling officers he can't breathe and asking for his mother, and did nothing about it, but helped Chauvin to murder George Floyd. All of them are guilty of murder. You know, like when we in the car and somebody rob a bank, aren't we guilty by association? Don't they throw the book at us too? Jurors get first extended look at Officer Lane's body camera footage. Jurors got a first extended look Wednesday afternoon of the body-worn camera footage captured by Officer Thomas Lane as he approached George Floyd in his car. The video shows Lane approach Floyd's vehicle and tap on the window. Floyd opens the door and begins apologizing before asking what he did. Lane tells him to put both of his hands up and pulls out a gun and points it at Floyd. The officer then tells Floyd to put his hands on top of his head. He then tells him to step out of the car. Mr. Officer, please don't shoot me. Please, man, Floyd begins to say. The officer responds he will not shoot Floyd and tells him to step out of the vehicle. Floyd continues to plead with the officer not to shoot him. I didn't know, man. I didn't know, Mr. Officer, Floyd added. As Floyd exits the vehicle, Lane tells Floyd to put his hands behind his back and handcuffs him. The officer asks Floyd to stop resisting, which Floyd denies doing. Me speaking, it's my understanding that the guy who took the fake 20, poor baby, 18 years old, what did he know? This just goes to show you how poorly ADOCS are paid. The brother had to tell, or the 20 that was fake that he took was going to come out of his paycheck, and he couldn't afford to lose $20. Reparations now. And so, to my understanding of the events, he went to the car to tell Mr. Floyd about the fake 20, how he had to bring the items back in. That's my made up story until I keep reading. I think that that's what he's saying. He did not know that the 20 was fake, but that's just me. Let's keep reading. Got about 15 minutes before we jump to the next day 4. As Floyd exits the vehicle, Lane tells Floyd to put his hands behind his back and handcuffs him. The officer asks Floyd to stop. Okay, Floyd resists, denies doing. Lane then encounters and questions 2 bystanders while another officer leads Floyd off the frame. Lane can then be heard asking Floyd if he is on something because he is acting erratic, which Floyd denies. Officers then lead Floyd across the street to the police car in front of Cup Foods. Me speaking, if he is on something and he's acting erratic, he wasn't on speed, according to his girlfriend. He was addicted to opioids from a back injury. So you can't deduce that he's acting erratic because he knows you're about to execute him. He can't be scared to death because of all the executions by the race soldiers, the white inferior race soldiers that have plagued us since they dragged us here in chains. He understood who he was as a big black man and the threat it posed. Can you imagine? Some of you can because you're big and black. What it must feel like to constantly have to shrink yourself to avoid what inevitably happened to George Floyd anyhow. James Baldwin said it best: to wake up ADOCS is to wake up in a constant state of rage. You're not free to be you. You got to be that get along, hee ha ha. Some of even, never mind, I'm going to stay off that topic before they strike my video. So this glacier donkey decides he's acting erratic because he's on something. We got to be on something to want to live. Officers then lead Floyd across the street to the police car in front of Cup Foods. Next segment. Bystander explains why he challenged Chauvin moments after Floyd's body was removed from the scene. A bystander immediately challenged Derek Chauvin moments after George Floyd's lifeless body was hauled away, telling the officer he was wrong to put his knee into the man's neck. But the defense wants to make it the drugs' fault, wants to make it his underlying health conditions' fault, wants to make it the bystanders, eyewitnesses' fault. All money ain't good money. That's blood money you took, defense. Nelson. And how in the world is he able to come up with all these what-if scenarios in making his case and not get objected to? How can you make up shit when you got a video that literally shows you what happened? We got facts. You ain't got to make up stories. In a fuzzy audio from police video, Chauvin could be heard defending his actions to the criticism of Charles McMillan, 61. Quote, that's one person's opinion, Chauvin could be heard saying in footage to McMillan, also adding that Floyd was a sizable guy who was probably on something. You can take Dylan Roof to Burger King after executing the South Carolina 9. You can take that fool alive who was sexually repressed and having a bad day, who killed 8 people down in Georgia. You can take the fool alive in Colorado that killed 10. When the prosecutor asked McMillan why he felt the need to challenge Chauvin in that moment, the witness said, "Because what I watched was wrong." McMillan also testified that he recognized Chauvin from patrols in that South Minneapolis neighborhood where Floyd was killed outside Cup Foods. Quote, "I think I said to him 5 days ago, I told him the other day to go home to your family safe and let the dead person go to their family safe," McMillan testified, recalling his chat with Chauvin. "But today, I got to look at you as a maggot." Witness breaks down in tears on the stand as he watches video of George Floyd calling out for his mother. Charles McMillan again, family. Charles McMillan, 61, who was driving near Cup Foods on May 25th when he came upon the arrest of George Floyd, sobbed on the witness stand after video was played of Floyd calling out for his mother. McMillan yelled, "You can't win," at Floyd while he was being arrested and as officers tried to put him in the back of a squad car, according to bystander video. McMillan testified that he was trying to convince Floyd to get into the car. "Oh my God," McMillan sobbed after the video was turned off. He grabbed several tissues and wiped his eyes and face. Minnesota Assistant Attorney General Aaron Eldridge asked McMillan what he was feeling, and he said that he felt helpless and that he understood Floyd because he had lost his mother on June 25th. Judge Peter Cahill called for a 10-minute break. Next, juror in Chauvin trial has stress-related reaction. A juror in the high-profile trial against Derek Chauvin in the death of George Floyd had a stress-related reaction Wednesday. Juror 7 returned to the courtroom Wednesday while the rest of the jury was out of the room during a break and was seated on the witness stand. Hennepin County Judge Peter Cahill asked the woman how she was feeling. "I'm shaky, but better," the juror responded. The judge asked her if she had a stress-related reaction, adding, "We have to make a record of this." The juror said that she did, and the judge said he understands. She has been having trouble sleeping. As have I, as have we all. The stakes are so high. If this Mickey Vicky walks, it is open season on ADOCS. Everybody get to the gun range. The juror then said she had been awake since 2 a.m. As have I. I can't sleep. I'm anxious. I think I'll be okay going forward, she added. But I will not give in, give up, or give out on this series. It consumes me, so I know it's consuming you. And I pray that my righteous indignation helps support you in yours. And we can blow off steam together. Docking workers for fake money is against state labor law. Cup Food denies it ever did so. It's against Minnesota labor law for employers to dock workers for receiving counterfeit money, as a store clerk testified in former officer Derek Chauvin's murder trial. But we always know there are 2 sets of rules when you don't have the complexion for the protection. I just told you the median income for Asians nationwide is $87,000, to white folks $65,000, to ADOCS $41,000. I absolutely believe this young man was threatened that if he accepted a $20 bill, it was coming out of his paycheck, and he could not afford that. Even if it was just told to him in that moment that he realized it was a counterfeit. He knew it was. I don't know that it is for sure, but he suspected it was when it was given to him, and he allowed them to go out that store with those products. And I bet the manager told him that. If you don't go back and retrieve those goods, that's coming out your paycheck. I bet you that's what happened. Cashier Christopher Martin told jurors he flagged a possible fake $20 bill from George Floyd on May 25th at Cup Foods because it is store policy that any counterfeit money received by the store will be taken out of an employee's paycheck. Why would this brother have to lie? We know what the law says, but we know y'all break the law all the damn time. Especially when it comes to ADOCS. Such a move would be against state labor codes, which say no employer shall make any deduction from a worker due to loss or stolen property. That works for white folks. There's a separate set of rules across the board for ADOCS. Receiving counterfeit money would fall into this category of loss, a Labor Department rep said. Nobody's blues is like ADOCS blues. But a spokesman for Cup Foods pushed back in Martin's testimony, saying employees would only be liable for counterfeit bills if they don't check them as a deterrent. We've never made an employee pay for a counterfeit bill, Cup Foods spokesman Jamar Nelson said in a statement. After Martin told managers about the $20 Floyd used to buy a pack of cigarettes, it set into motion the deadly chain of events that ended with the police officer's knee on his neck. I took it anyway. And I was planning to just put it on my tab until I second-guessed myself, Martin said. I kept examining it, and then I eventually told my manager. The state labor department has no record of any such a wage complaint against Cup Foods, the agency spokesman said. Why would he have complained? Does he even know how to complain? Have y'all sat him down and told him his rights as ADOCS? More than likely not. All right, family, that's my segment there. Let me wrap this one up so I can get the music and everything queued up for day 4. We'll go over day 4 and spend a little time chatting with you guys. Let me welcome the ones who are here in case you can't come back. We've got LaRon Jones. Oh my God, this is Rich. It's one of my church family members. I owe him a call, y'all. ADOS, American Descendants of Slavery, Media Engagement Solutions, ADOS Children. I love you, Black and Strong, too. Let me pray us out after I bid you guys hello. Ida B. Wells 2.0, you know it. The Slave Bible, I see you, family. Denise Jarrett, Expert Stylist. Bape Racks, Chinetta Lynn, ADOS Truth. Lafayette Ward, it's debunk how they are justifying the use of drugs when you had a man in handcuffs. So what was the real reason to take a man in handcuffs? No threat, to the ground with a knee on neck, shaking my damn head. I'm going to share with you about the charges that the prosecutor couldn't get in on the next segment. This Chauvin has a record of atrocities, several New York City blocks long. Pablo Picante, thank you for joining the live, my love. Corey, oh, where'd the comments go? Corey Lorenze, thank you. Trey Lincoln, I love you, bro. Kareem Danielle, thank you, my love. Linda Jennings, all white troops about ADOCS. He was big, black on something. All white tropes. Absolutely, my love. Travis Johnson, who named me Ida B. Wells 2.0. Peace and blessings to you, my love. I'm owning it now in this series. Thank you. Linda says, manager was a punk, didn't confront Floyd himself, but sent a team to deal with it. Really? Absolutely, Linda. Arthur Ward, I love you, Black and Strong. That's ADOC Chicago. They're metamorphing into something. Well, they ain't stopped the work. They're just still deciding on what they're going to be next. I love you, Black and Strong, Arthur. Thank you for being over here. Travis, I see Ida B. Wells 2.0 has taken off. Justice for George Floyd. Absolutely, family. Thank you for watching this segment. Let me pray us out in case you can't join me. I'm going right back on with the intro for day 4. and the way I see it, in the spirit of Ida B. Wells, who shared about the lynchings to the peril of her own newspaper outlet. We'll get into her as a freed woman's, as part of my Freedmen's History Every Day of the Year series. But let me put a covering over us that the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us wherever ADOCS and its allies are. God truly is, because family, you are the face of God. Yes, you are. The voice of God, the body temple of the spirit of the living God. I hope to see you guys over at the 7 o'clock segment starting in 1 minute. I love you, Black and Strong. Peace.